Hey yogis, it's Koah. We are going to work on our Chaturangas. So grab a block or something that's about this high or even this high, and then grab a strap as well. And we are just going to chat for a little bit about how to utilize our shoulders and our core to make those Chaturangas, those yoga push-ups, safer and a little easier. We see these a lot in our vinyasa classes, and because it's such a repetitive motion, we could damage our shoulders really easily. And even though we're using our arms, it's not just upper body strength, it's a lot of core strength. We need to use all the muscles that are around our shoulder to help keep everything in line, because what happens a lot is when people go into Chaturangas, they start to dive forward, and that's when we start to see tears in the front, or they drop their hips and they do almost more of a back bend. So this control with your rhomboids and your serratus are going to help find that nice balance to keep everything in line. And your core, got to keep that tight too, and that'll help keep your low part of your back and your spine and your hips more in line. So to warm up a little bit and get more familiar with these muscles that are going to be working, let's come into a tabletop position. Spread those fingers wide, wrists right underneath those shoulders, knees under the hips. And we're just going to do scapular push-ups. Many of you are familiar with that. So keeping the arms straight, drop the chest down. So we're squeezing the shoulder blades together and then push the floor away. And you can feel the shoulder blades spread apart. Notice if you're maintaining that core. So pull the low belly in towards your back. Feel everything kind of cinch in a bit. And then we'll do that a few more times, dropping the chest and pressing away. So you start to recognize where you're feeling the muscles, right? When you press away, you feel the sides of your body working. And then when you drop the chest, you feel the rhomboids working. So now that we get kind of a sense of where things are really being worked, we can start to find some modified Chaturanga push-ups. So bring those knees back behind you and just do your best to reach the chest forward, keep the elbows hugged in, and just a little dip. And do that a couple more times. So you're going to notice if you're not using your core, you're putting all this pressure, and you'll feel it in your shoulders, your neck, and your arms. So pull the belly in, lean into it, and you still might feel it in the upper body, but just waking up these muscles. Now, if one of the issues that you're having is that your elbows are splaying out, this is where our strap is going to come in handy, or you can use a belt or something that's like this at home. So we need it kind of small when we make our loop, because we want to keep it shoulder width distance apart. We don't want to let those elbows splay out. So I'm about right here. So take some time. You may need to pause the video to really find the proper alignment here. But then once you get it, we're going to come back into that tabletop. So you need it just above those elbows here. And then walk those knees back just a little bit, and we'll practice those Chaturanga push-ups. Pull the belly in, feel that whole corset around your waist pulling in here. And then lean forward. And notice how that strap doesn't let you take your elbows out, and also stops your chest from coming too far. We hear a lot of times that we want to keep a 90-degree bend in our elbow, and that's right, because if we drop the elbows, or we drop the shoulders rather too far forward, that's when we just dump all of our weight forward. And then it's more effort to come up into that up dog, right? So practice this a few more times and maybe move into that little cobra pose or up dog if that feels good. So hands stay shoulder width distance apart, lean into it, belly's pulled in, lower down, and then open up. So notice how everything stays in line here. Now if you feel like you've got that down with your strap here, you can set it aside. We may use it on our legs in a bit. But grab your block. So maybe you have the elbows correct, but you're still having a hard time coming down. You're going too far down is the main problem. So we'll set our block up on its highest setting, which is about where the strap stopped our chest. And then again, leaning forward, so reaching the chest forward, gazing forward, tap, and press back up. And you can kind of take a look, everybody's built very different. So if it doesn't let you go far enough, bring it down to its middle level. And try that a couple times. This is gonna feel a little harder. Keep your gaze forward, strong core. Feel everything pulling towards the midline. Beautiful. Take a moment in a child's pose. Just stretch those arms out. You might be feeling this a lot in those triceps. They get worked pretty hard here. And let's come back into that tabletop and then moving into a plank pose, because that's when we start to build up from dropping the knees as a modification. We do our chaturangas from plank. So you can utilize your props here if you need to, wrapping the strap around your upper arms, but feel the feet press towards the back of your mat. Feel the low belly pull in. So again, we don't want to see when you come forward this, see how high my booty's popping, my shoulders are dropping, and we don't want to see this, because there's no control. You're not getting any benefit out of that. What we do want to see is this, and then it sets you up for your cobra or your up dog. You can drop your knees if you've been in plank that entire time. Take a moment here. And then keeping your tabletop for a little bit longer, press into the mat. So feel those muscles that we talked about in the beginning working here, right? If you want to do some scapular push-ups just to make sure that we've got everything right where they need to be, that's fine. Then start to take your feet back. Feel those heels pressing away. Feel the thighs pulling in towards one another. Tailbone is pointing towards the back of your mat. And hold here for 3, for 2, and 1. Drop those knees, find your child's pose. So it's a lot of work. And so many times we go into classes and we see these things in an all levels class. And if you're a beginner, this can be very intimidating, but it takes a lot of time to find the strength to do this. Let's bring that strap now around our calves, so just below the knees. And we want to be able to bring those legs hip width distance apart. So again, kind of like what we did with our arms, play with it, see about where that perfect width is. And then you might need to scoot yourself a little bit. So right away you can drop your knees and then press those legs away from each other, and you feel everything working here, right? Now we're going to add an element to it. You're going to place the block in between the thighs here. So if you're still working on the shoulders dropping too far, maybe you just stay here and feel everything working with the knees down. Belly's pulled in, don't forget that part. Chest reaches forward, gaze slightly forward, lower, 90 degrees, press back up. Check out your fingers, another important part. Make sure those fingers are spread wide and fingers are facing towards the front of your mat. Really your pointer's facing, because everybody's wrists are built different. Try it a couple more times. Take your time with it. Check off those lists of things that we need to feel engaged. Nice, if that feels pretty easy for you, come into your plank pose. Feel those thighs squeezing the block here. And feel the resistance of your band that you're using. And then let's give it a couple tries. Lean forward. Nice. Maybe you want to open up into an up dog here. Lift those toes. Maybe lift into a down dog. And let's do it a couple more times. Hinge forward. Belly's cinched in. Lower halfway. Open the body. Downward facing dog. One more time. So much going on. Let's drop back down into that tabletop. We can remove our props. Slide that strap off of your legs. And we'll meet in a seat here. Allow the palms to face up on your thighs. Roll the shoulders back and down. Feeling those rhomboids and the other muscles that we worked here. Yeah. Let's take our arms up to the sky and reach over towards the right side. Bring your body back to center, over to the opposite side. Coming back to center, we'll find some eagle arms. Take your left arm forward, right arm binds underneath. You can always give yourself a hug if that's the only wrap you have here. Elbows lift slightly, hands away from your face. Feeling a little space in the back of the shoulders, the upper back. And then release those arms, shake them out. We'll find that right arm reaching forward, left arm binds underneath, or a hug. A few more breaths here. And release those hands. Again, palms face up, allow those elbows to get heavy. Drop your right ear down to your right shoulder. Chaturangas take the whole body to work. It's not easy, but you get stronger with practice. Maybe gently roll your chin over towards the opposite side. And don't get discouraged with your chaturanga. Some days it feels like it's one of the easiest things you've ever done, and even with years of practice, some days it's the hardest thing I do. Bring your gaze back up, your head back up, drop your chin to your chest for a moment. Try not to round the shoulders forward, so feel those shoulder blades move back and down. Perfect. Bring your gaze back up, and if you ever forget, just put on some T-Rex arms. Keep the elbows hugged in as you sit. Flex those hands, those fingers towards the sky, and you can just press out and pull in, and you should feel all of these muscles working still. The core is nice and strong. My shoulders aren't rolling back or forward. And keep practicing. Thanks for joining me. Namaste.